everybody, this is Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff, and before me I have two different Moto Gs. I don't know if you remember the story of what happened here, but I accidentally got two of them. I'm keeping both, so this is going to serve me well in my review as I start kicking this review off. What I did was order one from Amazon and one from Motorola themselves, and they were supposed to ship at different times, so I assumed I'd keep the first one that arrived, but no, both came at the exact same time, so now I have two. So one of them, this one, is going to be used for the review, and this one I want to test out the durability of the phone. Now, the very first thing that I have noticed about the Motorola G is that it's incredibly sturdy as a little phone. This guy comes at a very cheap price point, but the phone itself is not cheap feeling. It does not break easily, and I can really testify to that because I took my Motorola G, this one, to the gym several times, and I did it again! And as I was running on the treadmill, it fell off, it hit the ground, and it flew across the room. And when I picked it up again, let me check to see what happened to this one. Same phone, by the way. And when I picked it up again, as I'm just doing now, there's not a single dent or mark on the phone. This phone is quite slippery, I must say, but it survives drops like a champ. It's also protected by Gorilla Glass 3 on the front, which I've not experienced any scratches on yet. So one of the other things that is being claimed by Motorola is that this phone is water resistant or splash resistant. I would more or less call it splash resistant in all fairness, meaning that if you were to get caught in a rainstorm and water was to drop on the display or somehow get inside the phone just a little bit, it should not short out the phone. Now, they claim this is possible because there is a nano coating that's covering the internal components. And when there's a nano coating, it's supposed to keep water from coming in contact with it. Now, water itself, like distilled water, is not conductive, or at least very, very little conductivity to where it should not damage electrical components. It's actually impurities and ions in the water, such as salt, for example, salt water, or minerals for that matter, that can cause the conductivity that will short out your device. So my curiosity was piqued, and I just have to wonder, how far can I push it? If it gets splashed, that really is not that impressive, because with my Galaxy S4, I took that thing out in the rain and water got on the display a little bit and maybe inside the receiver. Nothing happened to it. It was all good and fine. But what happens if you were to drop your Moto G in a puddle? Can it withstand that? And I've actually seen another video on YouTube where a guy does do that. He puts it underneath the water for 15 seconds and it was fine. The only thing is that what happens a couple of minutes later when the water fully has a chance to get into the phone if it hadn't before? Does the speaker still work? Does the camera still work? Does it still charge? Is the battery heating up? Usually, and I've seen plenty of other videos, this is why I like YouTube, if the phone does not have some type of a nano coating and water does get into all the ports of the phone and fully submerge that phone or waterlog that phone, you will get some type of mayhem going on inside that poor phone. Now what I've seen an iPhone 5, an iPhone 5S, Galaxy S3, Galaxy S4, once they're dropped into the water and are fully submerged, after many seconds, you start seeing the touchscreen acting up. Sometimes you see the LCD die or have interesting patterns across it. And sometimes even the battery heats up, which is really not good. So immediately, of course, you should be taking out the battery, turning off your device. Even though you may be tempted to see if the device is still working, turn it off. So that is the usual story for phones that don't have any type of protective coating inside or that are not waterproof, is that they can short circuit, they can really become damaged. So I'm curious, with that nano coating, how far can I push it? One of them I'm going to keep aside for the review. This one's well protected. But you, my dear sir, I really have to see this for myself. So now we are in my bathroom and I'm just about to put this guy underneath the faucet. You can see there's some grow creatures there if you want to know what those are. And right here I have a timer, so basically I'm going to clock 15 seconds and then pull it out of the water for the first time. Check it out, see what happened to it. One of the things that I'm incredibly curious to see if it's still working is the speaker, or if it's compromised in some way. And yes, I had a chance to test everything out, including the speaker. The Moto G has a really loud speaker to begin with, so I'm sure I'll be able to test the difference. I was able to really test it last night by listening to The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's an audiobook from Audible. So before I move on, I want to take a second to thank my sponsors over at Audible so much for making videos like this possible. If you don't know who Audible is, they're the leading online seller of audiobooks. They have over 150,000 different downloadable titles from every single genre that I can possibly think of. I chose The Hobbit because I love The Lord of the Rings, and I haven't had a chance to go and see Desolation of Smaug, which is the second Hobbit movie in the series. So I'm going to be taking an incredibly long plane flight to France, and this is going to really serve me well. The audiobook is many hours long. It's going to keep me very well entertained. Also, the Moto G has a great battery life to begin with, so I'm very confident here in its abilities. And if this guy doesn't make it in the water, it'll be fine. I have an extra one. So I've been listening to this book and I really like it already. Very well read. The guy does several different voices for all the different characters. So a lot of really quality audiobooks. So if you want to check out The Hobbit, you can check it out for free on my behalf. If you follow my custom link in the description, audible.com/Erica, you can try out Audible's service for free, and you can get The Hobbit for free, or you can choose another title if you'd like. So if you want to check out The Hobbit, follow audible.com/Erica. Also, I really love their application. It's so easy to use. You're able to listen to their books on your Android, on your iPhone, even on your iPod, on your computer. So check them out. They're really excellent. And since they're an Amazon company, when you go to sign up for your free trial, you just need to use your Amazon login. It's really simple to do. Okay, thank you again, Audible, so much. What we're going to do now is push play, have it playing underneath the water, and it's going to go for 15 seconds at first. So let's go ahead.
Up was so dismally real.
Oh, well, right now it stopped playing. Now I can hear that, yes, the speaker is indeed quite garbled. Let's go ahead and check it out, see what has happened to this guy so far. At first glance, really, it looks like nothing has happened to it. The capacitive touchscreen's just fine. From what I can see, there isn't even any water underneath it. By this point, you should really be shutting off the phone and putting it on a towel so that it dries out. What you should be doing, at least what Liquipel advertises, is setting the phone straight up, turning the phone off for 5 hours without turning it back on, and waiting at least 48 hours before charging it. Another word of advice from Liquipel is if your device does become waterlogged, don't take it and blow at it and shake it. Let the water evaporate by itself. That way you're not pushing water further into the device. So I have taken the back cover off and wiped the water off around the speaker, and now it's playing just fine again, exactly the same as it was. The camera has no issues. There is no water at all underneath the camera.
He couldn't help feeling just a trifle disappointed.
No issues. There is no water underneath the display. You can see the front-facing camera has no issues at all either. I'm going to pop a SIM into it and see what happens. I can hear it ringing. And there you go. It's actually making calls. Let's go ahead and answer it on the other side. Hello, how are you? How are you? How are you? It works. No problem. The end. I have to say, I'm quite impressed, but let's go ahead and shake it about in the water too. So that indeed was a very promising first run. I want to put it underneath the water now for 30 seconds. Why not? 15 seconds really didn't seem to do anything, and I want to swish it about. So we're going to play The Hobbit again. I'm going to hit start on my timer. Here we go. 10 more seconds. Seems to be all right so far, although it stopped playing. I probably pressed something. Oh. And now we're at 30 seconds. Let's go ahead and check her out. See that the touchscreen is acting up just a tad bit because there is some water on it. Let's go ahead and wipe it off. Okay, let's go ahead and take the back cover off as well. It seems to help. Just drying it all off. Aha! And it's restarted itself. Starting to see some fishy behavior, but again, I don't see any water underneath the display. I still don't see any water underneath the camera either. It's completely unscathed in that way. Yeah, the touchscreen's freaking out just a little bit. And it's not wanting to continue playing. Battery's not getting hot or anything, that's a good sign. But otherwise, the touchscreen is still working. I'm going to try to make a phone call. I think I'm starting to feel the device heat up a little bit right now. Not happy. Really not a happy device. Now it's going in a boot loop. And now it won't even load. It won't even start up at all. At this point, it would be smart to just keep the phone off and let it sit upright for several hours. On a plus note though, there really is nothing underneath the display. There's nothing underneath the front-facing camera. So my impression right now is no, this guy is not waterproof. If you drop it in a puddle for a couple of seconds, it seems to be just fine. But once you put it in water for more than 15 seconds and really swish it about, it starts to act up a little bit, and I don't know if it's going to come back entirely. It's just not happy right now, and I do feel something warming up. The display area, which is probably the processor underneath, but the battery itself is not heating up. Now, I really couldn't resist the urge to just bang the water out of it. I figured, why not break all the rules? As I'm just testing to see what the limits are anyway with this device. And now look.
When in walked Gandalf.
Oh,
My dear fellow, he said.
it's working just fine again, no issues with it. I'm actually getting reception. You can see it says 3G there. I'm also getting a Wi-Fi connection. So let's go ahead and try to make a call again. Should be calling my iPhone. Put it on speaker. Relentless. Hello.
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 Still working.
Still working.
Wow, what a trooper.
Wow, what a trooper.
Yeah, so now that I've just pounded the water out of it, you know, like that, and just wiped it off with the towel, it's just fine. It's not even overheating anymore. It's just a slight bit warm. Not anything to even be alarming. So yeah, once water gets inside here, it can start seeing it disrupts things here and there. But still, there's no water underneath the display. The touchscreen's working just fine. There is no water at all underneath the camera, which is just baffling to me. Hello, I can see myself in the mirror. And let's go ahead and try the front-facing camera as well. Yeah, just fine, no problems. So can I call this waterproof? No, but you can fully waterlog the thing and it seems to be just fine. I had to silence that, but that's incredibly loud. Of course, now the proper thing to do would be to play a game of Granny Smith, see how it's still functioning properly, and then I want to do one other thing. So yeah, it's not so impressive to have it underneath the water for several seconds, even half a minute, but what would happen if I left it in there for a half hour? This is really my curiosity now. What happens to this if I leave it in here for a half hour? But first I have to play some Granny Smith. And it's playing just fine. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It's pretty rad. Now, if it can survive a half hour sitting in the water, which is what, just for example, just say something like a Lifeproof case advertises a half hour down to a meter. So really, I'm quite curious about that. We're gonna snap the battery back on, and I'm gonna set the timer for a half hour. So now I have the timer set for a half hour. I'm going to set that to the side. I realized that I did not check to see if the earphones worked still. And one thing that I am noticing now is that there seems to be quite a bit of condensation underneath the camera. It's not wet, there's no droplets in there, but it seems to come and go. For a few minutes there's condensation and then it suddenly disappears, then it comes back. So that's something that I'm going to be paying attention to as well, but I gotta try to see if these earbuds are working. Wow, loud, 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 loud. Yes, the earbuds work no problem, no issue whatsoever. By this point, before I soak him to his death, I think he deserves to be christened with a name or something. Something like Wally. That gives me the idea of a relentless personality, so Wally it is. Let's put you in the sink now, Mr. Wally. Half hour. Starts now. Now we've just started, but I feel that I should come in every 10 minutes to check and see how Wally is doing. But I will not take him out of the water. I may just push the button to see if he turns on and off or not. So Wally, I will see you in about 10 minutes. Now I'm breaking the 10-minute rule for now. We've got about 9 minutes left. And let's go ahead and see Mr. Wally. I just couldn't refrain from seeing how he's doing. And you can just see here, he's just totally chilling below the water, no problem. It doesn't look like it's changed at all. We still have Wi-Fi reception, we still have 3G. It hasn't lost service this entire time. And this display has just been sitting on this entire time. This is just impressive so far. Let's go ahead and see if I am able to turn on and off the display. Checking that out. Just no issue there. Of course, the capacitive touchscreen does not work. The water interacts with it. It's not a possibility. But it's just sitting there. No problem. Now I've gotten pretty bored just sitting here. We're about halfway done. I had some time to go and make myself some oatmeal with my non-dishes, as I really don't have many yet in my brand new apartment. But here we have Wally below the water. And Wally seems to be just fine still. He's getting a 3G connection. And Wi-Fi seems to be... The antenna's still working, it just seems to not be able to find a connection right now. From what I can tell, just looking at this, it doesn't seem that there's any water underneath the lens. So we're halfway there, and the thing really hasn't even budged. As of now, I don't see any water underneath the display. It seems to be just fine. 10-minute mark, time to see how Wally is doing. All right, Wally, you still turn on? Wow, Wally, you sicken me. Still, the Wi-Fi antenna seems to be working. And we're still getting a 3G connection. As of yet, from what I can tell, I can't see any water underneath the display. And we're just turning it over. And I'm not seeing any water underneath the camera either. This is just impossible. You are sickening, Wally, sickening. It's kind of funny though, because now the phone feels really heavy as it's totally full of water. Oh, how cute. His little notification light is going off from underneath the water. Help me! We are coming up at 1 minute now. Oh, can't wait to take Wally out of that water. Starting to feel bad for the poor little guy. 40 seconds left. 30 seconds left. 10 seconds left. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow! All right, stop it. All right, Wally, let's see how you're doing. Oh boy, really heavy with all that water in there. Just have a feeling of needing to take that back cover off. But first, let's see if the display turns on. Yes, the display turns on. Okay, before further inspection, let's gotta get him out of this wetsuit. Don't worry, Wally. So full of water. Oh boy. All right, I can't help it. I gotta make sure to tap him out. Well, I'll be darned. The first examination I am seeing, there is no water under anything. There's no water underneath the front-facing camera. There is absolutely no water underneath this display. I am not understanding. Motorola has just done a phenomenal job here. There's no water underneath the camera. How is that possible? Let's see if we can do a couple of things here. The touchscreen's working fully, by the way. Let's find, where did my Audible go? It's getting Wi-Fi reception and 3G reception. The one thing not working right now, it seems, is this speaker. It seems that I do have the Hobbit playing, and I don't hear anything. Let's go ahead and see Granny Smith. Ah, indeed, yes. The speaker right now is not working. Look at the processor is working just fine. GPU, CPU, all that's still all good. The camera seems to be working just fine. Is getting a focus. Front-facing camera is also working fine. Hello. Let's go ahead and see if we can make a phone call. Hold it up to my ear, see if I can hear anything from the receiver. I don't hear anything from the receiver right now either, but it's indeed making a phone call. Hello?
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 Oh, the speaker's working.
It's working.
Are you working?
Are you working?
It's working.
It's working.
How dare you work?
How dare you work?
So suddenly it just decides to work again? Then why is it not working during games? What am I doing wrong? It must think that there's something plugged into the headphone jack, so I've just been banging it a little bit more. I'm just gonna see here. You working yet? Dude! That's loud! And yes, it's working! This thing is unbelievable! This phone isn't even getting hot. It must be a magical nano coating. And no, this is not just a marketing ploy. Motorola is truly telling the truth here. The phone has just completely survived. Besides a little bit of condensation underneath the camera lens, which I'm sure will just go away, what I will be doing is letting it sit overnight before I even attempt charging it. This is just impressive. I have no words. I truly don't see any water where it should not be. And that was something that I was really expecting. The fact that I can still make phone calls. Let's see if the headphone jack works as well. The fact that I can still make phone calls. This thing, I don't know if I can call it waterproof. Yeah, I think it's fair enough to call it waterproof. It's certainly more than water resistant. Headphones work perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. I love this phone. So it really does seem that waterproof phones are a thing of the future, and the Moto G really is just that. At a fantastic price point, the only thing that I can dock it right now is the fact that it has a little bit of condensation underneath the camera. Not the front camera, mind you, just the back camera. But the focus and everything is still working. The phone is not heating up at all, so nothing is short-circuiting, because if it were, the battery would have gotten very hot and some other monstrosity would have happened somewhere else inside here. I'm just gonna hold this up to my ear, see if I can hear anything from the receiver. Yeah, totally, not a problem at all. I'm really not wanting to mess around with electricity when it's wet. Okay, Wally, you deserve a good night's rest. Okay, it's the next day now, and here is Wally still sitting where I left him. Now we have to plug him in, see if it works. I'm pretty confident though, really. So we're just gonna go ahead and push that in. Something's happening. Indeed, so it's off now, so let's go ahead and power it up. See if it powers up. Now we have the cute boot logo. And indeed, there we go. It's charging just fine. Now that it's had a chance to sit overnight, I can see that indeed that condensation has not returned. Fantastic. So it's just working just as it's supposed to. You can see I'm getting a 3G connection. I'm also getting Wi-Fi.
Needed in advance to make requisite preparations.
And again, the speaker is working just fine. The receiver is working just fine. It's totally fine. So the best thing that I can say for this one is at least my phone here does show quite a few waterproof properties. I am very confident with this phone. I'm confident also that this can be reproduced with other Moto G phones. But of course, Motorola is not saying this specifically, but this is really something special. So thank you everybody for watching. This has been Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. If you're looking for a nice, sturdy little phone that can withstand drops, dings, and even being thrown in the water, this guy has it all. Now, of course, I don't recommend you go swimming with this phone just because it's showing waterproof properties. And I certainly wouldn't recommend bringing it in something like chlorine or salt water. But getting caught out in the rain and accidentally dropping it in the toilet, you're gonna fare just fine. Wally, I'm gonna have to put you on Wall of Fame or something. You're just fantastic.